thank you to our 3 sponsors for supporting our podcast. Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, who offer fantastic catering services, Alexander Grace Law, who provide modern and client-led legal services, and SBE Furnishings, who offer high-quality furnishings and electrical items at fantastic prices.
You're right, we might have to contact TMS and see if Benedict can find out if anyone else has been run off the first ball of the season, shouting easy 3 and then sliding in on the knees. An interesting stat, that would be. So, Haggers, so just talk us through. So you develop, you carry on, and then, you, as we're all aware of, you make that decision and you move to Padiham to play some Ribblesdale League cricket. Talk us through that period of your career at Lowerhouse.
Well, just quickly going back to 2010, Jess. So, like I said, that was my first season as captain, and with Gary being on tonight, Gary went 1 game further than me. But like I said, that was a real tough season because we had a big changeover in players, a lot of young lads, and that first season as captain, we lost 13 games on bounce.
Right.
Is Gary still with us?
Yeah, good club that. Haggers, good club.
How many did you lose? Were it 14?
No, I think it was 13, mate. I think we won first 3. We won first 3, and and all top step we're going to win league and all that crap. I think we lost the next 3, then won 1, and then we lost 13 on bounce.
Yeah. I think problem I had, we didn't win first 3, so. Yeah, and we finished that run. We won a game at Bay Cup, and to this day, we had no right to win it whatsoever. I think Kieran Ty and Nicky Lee they put about 50 or 60 on for the last wicket to win this game at Bay Cup. It was unbelievable. And that broke us 13-game duck. But I thought I would get sacked and everything. I would. Gav were partly to blame as well because Gav was team manager. So it weren't all just me.
Who were your vice?
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I had one, Joe. Everyone was that young, I don't think I even bothered with it. I think it might have been Scott. When he was fit. It was a tough season, that. But
I've got that game up, Haggers. Yeah, I've got that game up, Haggers. And you're right, Mickey Lee and Kieran Ty put on best part of 60 to win the game. But it is an extremely young team. There's you, Lewis Marsden, Scott Hope, Deck Bailey, Reese Woodworth, Ollie Bailiff, Mickey Lee, Kieran Ty, Sean Eaton, Jack Herbert, and then the last one was unknown. It is a young team. Considering that me and Johnny and Fergus and Matt Walker and everybody had moved into the first team, so it was, as you say, it was a baptism of fire.
Yeah, like I said, they were young lads and didn't know a lot about them when they first come into the team, and I had to captain them. But a couple of years, 2-3 years later, I made some good mates out of that bunch that come through. Lewis Marsden, Lavers, Sean, as bonkers as he is. Reese as well. So
yeah. No, there's like you said, some good coaches, some good cricketers. They're just too young to be all playing in the same team. Under a young captain who's probably not getting much support if you've got Gav as you manage.
Well, we brought Waity signed for us. We brought Waity in. So Waity had come from Belvedere. We just needed a bit of experience, and everyone were on board with it, including Stan. But when it come to, I don't know if he'd played before this, and I think the game were at Burnley, but Stan had a massive hissy fit because it wouldn't surprise me if it were in the middle of this run or season after when we were struggling a bit, but we were desperate for a bit of experience, absolutely desperate. So me and Gav, and all team selection used to be done over email back then. We'd be emailing back and forth during the week, which were a bit of a ball ache, but and me and Gav said, right, we're picking Waity, we need some experience, Gav manager, I'm captain, we want to go with Waity. Stan threatened to resign from club completely if we pick Waity in front of Oliver Bailiff. He went absolutely berserk. If you pick John Waite in front of Oliver Bailiff, I'm finished with this club. That is me done.
You hear him saying it, can't you? Yeah.
But we picked him, and he's still here now. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because Waity got wind of it, and we're going to kick Stan's head in.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So Haggers, talk us through that period then. After you've had the captaincy, you've done a great job. You brought players on. I know you talk about the defeats and how difficult it was, but that experience, it really holds well for the players who were young players playing under you. So talk us through the Padiham side of things.
Padiham come about because, like I said, the bunch of young lads that had started to captain, and then I stood down as captain. I think 2013, 2012, 2013, we had a really good dressing room. We had a great dressing room. And we had a really good side as well. There's a photo that went on the website 2 or 3 weeks back, and it was from a game at Ramy. And you look at the players that were in that team, and you look back and you think, we did finish second that season, but you look back and you think, well, how did we not win league? How did we not win? How did we not win a cup with that team? And the problem we're getting that team out every week, and that's the problem you've always got in second team. You're wide open to losing players to first team. You're wide open to people being on holiday, people being injured. Before you know it, you can lose 4 or 5 players. So we had a really good dressing room for a couple of years. Like to Lewis, Scott Hope, Lathers, Sean Eaton, Reese, Cos, and just as everything that dressing room just got broken up in no time. Cos moved away because of uni, I think. Reese were on verge of getting in army, so he weren't playing every week. Lewis and Lathers were playing in first team, and once again I found myself with a bunch of kids really. But they were a lot younger. We're talking like 14, 15, 16 here. And that season, the last season before I went to Padiham, 2014, I just didn't enjoy it one bit. There weren't even any crack. There weren't even any cracking dressing. And that's nothing against them lads that were playing. We're just 2 different generations. So, my initial thoughts were, I'm gonna pack it in. But, deep down I knew that I wanted to carry on playing. So I was never going to play for anybody else in Lancashire League because I didn't want to play against Lowerhouse. Padiham were local. I knew a couple of people up there. Swifty were up there at the time, so I got in touch with Swifty and basically said, look, just have a chat with someone and see if they'll have me. And they were keen, because of it was a Lowerhouse thing really, because of reputation Lowerhouse have got, and it was a bit of even though we're coming from second team, I think they felt like it were a bit of a statement getting stuff from Lowerhouse. So me and Ben went up there. Ben signed the same season as pro.
Of course,
And, I think a few people think that I went up there with Ben, but I didn't actually. It just kind of dropped into a conversation that me and Ben were having. Ben said, Padiham have approached me. And I said, well, funnily enough, I'm actually about to sign for him. We went up there at the same time. And, it was a big move, You play at Lowerhouse all them years, you never ever think you're going to play anywhere else. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking of leaving. And then the longer you think about it, the more sure you become. The more sure you become that you make the right decision. And
I think it's fair to say, Haggers, I maybe should have said this at the start, and Dooch and Joe Martin, I know you were aware, Gary, but I'm sure you will have kept up with stuff. I've never heard anyone or anything on social media or any conversations with other people or overheard that there was any animosity towards you or the fact that you'd moved on. There's so many other players that have moved on from our cricket club that, I personally, and I can only speak for myself, I wash my hands of them because, we give them everything and then they walk away and just, treat us like a cheap pair of tights. You weren't like that, Haggers. It was, people were, good on you, you're doing it. You've got your reasons for doing it. You're more than welcome to come back. We'll applaud you, for what you've done for the club. So I hope you don't think there was any hassles from anyone at the club.
No, I don't, Jez. None whatsoever. My last game for second team, Rams bottom at home. I got run out at non-strikers. Pretty typical bad luck again. Ben Gorton smashes one back down the ground. Bowler deflects it onto the stumps. So what I'm thinking is my last innings for Lowerhouse at the time lasts about bloody 5 balls. One. I got a nice reception coming off. But Rammy players were wondering what was going on, thinking he's only got one, and blokes get standing ovation as he's coming off.
That's
got a few beers that night, bit of a leaving do, and off up to Padiham it were. So
good. So how did you find it in Ribblesdale League? Tell us about that experience.
It's a completely different league, Jess. And there's always these arguments on Twitter and Facebook, what have you, and going on about standard. And obviously, Ribblesdale League will get protective of their league, Lancashire League will get protective of their league. But I don't think you can compare two really, because there's two different completely brands of cricket played in, I think. And I think that's down to the size of grounds. I'll never forget. I remember watching the season before I went up to Padiham, because I knew I was signing. I went up to watch the last game of the season, and they were playing Brooks Bottom. And Brooks Bottom weren't that good, to be honest, but they'd still got about 280 on Padiham. And because it was the last game of the season, I think Padiham were treating it as a bit of a nick and a giggle. Jimmy Gray opened batting for Padiham, and he opened batting. He got 12 off 2 balls, so he hit first 2 balls at the game for 6. And he ranked 3rd ball. And I must admit, I was sat there thinking, I thought, what is going on? But, looking at it for what it were, it was last game of the season, and it was a bit of crack.
Yeah.
But there's a completely different brand of cricket played. And I remember speaking to Orky after a few games when he'd gone pro at Great Harwood. And he said, I've got people smacking me back over my head for 6 in first over at game. He couldn't get his head round it. But that's what it's like in that league. And like I said, I think it's come because of smaller grounds. People just look to it's a lot of sixes and a lot of boundaries.
Yeah.
And from a standard point of view, in my opinion, and some people will disagree with me, but especially now with 2 divisions in Lancashire League, the Lancashire League is a better standard. And I think the main reason for that is you've got more strength in depth in Lancashire League teams. In Ribblesdale League, if you get down to 6 or 7, you'll roll them pretty quickly, as long as you hit your foot, you don't take your foot off gas and you don't do anything silly. Whereas in Lancashire League, there's a lot more strength in depth. But in Ribblesdale League, the top 4 or 5 batters, in most teams, and your first couple of opening bowlers, they're a good standard. There were some really good players in the league when I was playing in it.
Yeah. So you enjoyed your time there. Is there any? I mean, obviously, we won't be able to relate to any of the characters. Are there any stories that you want to relay around any of the games whilst you're in the Ribblesdale League?
So a good mate of mine now, Callum Clark, who plays up there. When I first got up there, to be honest, I was expected to start each seconds and maybe put a couple of scores in each seconds, but I was straight into the first team. Remember debut against Exton, actually, and Frankie were pro for Exton.
Yeah.
But I was opening batting with Callum, and this weren't for on the field reasons. But Callum were an absolute nightmare to open batting with, because he was very rarely ready to go out and bat, especially at home. So I remember it probably the first time we'd open batting together. We're up at Padiham, and Callum's one of them. He does it. He's taken a bit of a step back now at Padiham, but he used to do absolutely everything. He'd be cleaning toilets, he'd be working back by, he'd be making teas, he'd be doing everything, which is great, but don't do it 5 minutes before you're going out to bat. So I'd be sat there ready to go, and I like everything to be nice and settled. So whoever's batting with me, I want them to be ready as well. But they're like 3 minutes before we're meant to go out to bat, umpires are starting to make a move. And Callum would be behind the ball, like pulling bands. It really put me off. And I'd be thinking, what is he doing? He's driving me up wall here.
It put me off.
Not getting one for you.
Well, majority of the time, Gary, I could have had one 5 minutes later, so but
what about this umpire thing?
The umpire thing, I've always been a bit of an hot head after I get out anyway, because it's just my way of dealing with getting out, really. Especially if I've got myself out or you get a bad decision. But I'll throw my bat, I'll throw a bit of kit and let off a bit of steam, and then I'll get on with it. Different people deal with it in different ways. But we're playing at Great Harwood, and Alty was sub-proing for Great Harwood. So got off to a decent start. Stuart Mayo, other opening bowler. and Alty comes on. A good test, good player is Alty. So I've got late 30s, probably about 37, 38. We're going really well. But Alty's bowling from end where it's Naeem Ashraf's wife. She's called, is it Yasmin?
Yasmin, yeah.
Have you ever? Yeah, Yasmin. And she'd done a bit of umpiring at Ribblesdale League that season before, and she'd not got very many complimentary reports, captain's reports, should we say. Some questions about the decision making and what have you. So Alty's all over this, absolutely all over it. So every time it hits pads, anytime it's anywhere near, Alty's he's literally down on the floor begging. When she says not out, heading and. But when he's walking past me, he's like winking at me every time, and she's not looking. He's proper laying it on thick, and I'm thinking she's gonna cave in here. Absolutely, she's gonna cave in definitely. So she definitely fire something. Anyway, lo and behold, who is it? A couple of overs later, it's me. So I've absolutely middled one onto the middle of my pad. Absolutely middled. Never even looked at her. Alty's down on one knee, giving it big appeal. I've not even looked at her. weren't even bothered, and she's fired me. So, and even though I've been a bit of a bat thrower and pad thrower after I've got out in the dressing room, I've never said anything to an umpire at all. I can't remember exactly what I said to her, but it weren't complimentary. And I couldn't calm down. Like normally, after about 10 minutes, I've calmed down a bit and absolutely furious. And I was shouting stuff out at the dressing room onto the pitch. I just absolutely just completely lost it. Probably the only time I've ever reacted like that on the cricket pitch. But I think it was because proper grafted against two good bowlers, and I knew it were coming. I knew she were going to give one. I knew she were going to give in. It ended up being me. But that's the story behind that one.
But then he come back on that.
There weren't, Gary. No, honestly, I was absolutely amazed. I were when we got back to Padiham, I was apologising to Callum. I said, no, Callum wasn't captain. I think second season. Robbo was captain that season. Rob, I don't know why I was apologising to him for losing my rag, because Robbo spent half of the season banned. But but yeah, I was apologising to Malcolm, who was in charge of selection. I said that was bang out of order. I was expecting a ban. I thought, just get all the apologies. Hopefully it'll dampen it down a bit. But nothing ever come of it. I couldn't believe it. It was as if she knew she'd made a massive cock up and thought, well, I'm not going to report it because I've just had an absolute shocker there. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I had a great time up at Padiham, and I knew after a couple of net sessions, winter nets, that I'd made the right decision. It was a good set of lads, and especially the first couple of years, we had a really good set. Ben were pro. We had a South African lad there called Brannan Varley, who were a serious player for Brannan. Big South African lad, bowl quick, could bat properly, hit a big ball, catch pigeons at first slip. Kurt Robinson at keeper, good keeper. Nathan Whitehead were up there, on his day. Great player is Nathan, bags of ability.
Yeah.
And we had a really good side. We're in bottom division, and top two got promoted. And so we're there 3 years. We finished second every season, but we only got promoted once. So we finished second in the first season. First season. We got shafted because Brooks Bottom and Edenfield left league.
Yeah.
So we ended up in a playoff with Cherry Tree and got absolutely hammered over at their place. Yeah. Second season we finished second, and then we got a points deduction and a fine for playing a dodgy Aussie that we signed halfway through the season. And the third season we actually got promoted. That's when I was captain the third season. So
yeah. No, it's good on you. Good on you for going out often, and enjoying the cricket through then. We've got, we've asked for a few questions and, through Twitter and other places to run by you. We'll maybe finish off on, how things are now for you and how your cricket's looking over the last 3 or 4 years. But if I just ask the first question that's come in on social media, it's anonymous, is this, who sent it in, but they're saying, have you ever been sent off from a cricket field?
Technically, no. Frank tried sending me off.
Untechnically.
Well, I didn't like pitch, but Frank, unsurprisingly, tried sending me off at Cone.
What happened there?
Well, what happened? Well, I was fielding at fine leg. We've got a square leg in. there's been an overthrow from, say, point, cover, wherever. Basically, overthrow has been nearer to square leg than it has to me. It goes for 4 overthrows, and Frank starts bollocking me down at fine leg. So I turned around and I started walking back towards the boundary. And Frank's proper going, he's proper going off on one. So as I was walking away under my breath, there was no way he could have heard me. And I'm glad you brought this up, actually, Jez, because I've got a bone to pick with your Adam over this, because Adam said on Twitter a few months back that Frank sent me off because I swore at an old lady, which is completely untrue. I would never do that. I don't know where.
I think you might find Frank said it on here. Frank said it on here that's what you did.
Is that what he said?
He said it on a podcast.
Right. Well, honestly, I can't even remember an old lady being there. But basically, I told under my breath, I told Frank to fuck off, and he couldn't have heard me. But all of a sudden, he went, right, that's it, get off. So I'm stood there on my head shouting, I'm not going anywhere. And he won't carry on with game until I've left, until I go off pitch. But it turned into like a battle of wills. I just thought, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not sending me off. So I stayed on and carried on playing the rest of the game. But
did he not say you weren't going to open batting as well or something?
I did say that, yeah. But the problem is, my mum and dad were coming to watch. So I thought, if I don't open batting, my dad will be on at me. Why aren't you open batting? Then I'll have to tell him what's going on, and then he'll blame me. So I just thought, if I open batting, it's just easier for everyone.
Yeah, so that story can probably roll on and on because it's completely contradictory to what Frank said.
Yeah, the legend of Horsfield.
Yeah.
I wish you were Frank.
So then we've had another message in just to relay this and see if you can give us your version of events around this. Me and Haggers went to Trent Bridge for the Saturday to join other members of Lowerhouse Cricket Club for a test match when England retained the Ashes and Broad bowled Australia out. The game was possibly going to be over on the Friday, I think it was, but it didn't. They needed half an hour or an hour's play on the Saturday, so we went to watch this. England got the 3 wickets they needed, so we went off and went on the piss. Do you want to take over the story? What happened there, Haggers?
I could probably guess who that is because there were only 2 of us that went down there. Yeah, so
and I think why is he not on this podcast, Haggers?
Well, I said earlier, one of the things I was looking forward to is when I've been listening and when Stanley's been on, I've been wondering how his head fits on that really small screen. So I was quite disappointed when he said he weren't coming on. But, well, that day you were there, weren't you? That day, Jez, you'd gone out there before, hadn't you?
Yeah.
So I've been looking forward to this for months. We bought tickets probably a year before, and what did we got 45 minutes on the third day, weren't it?
Yeah, it was third day. Yeah.
Broad had 8 for 14 on first morning.
Yeah.
Which were fantastic, but I was thinking, just hang on a minute. We want to see some cricket here on third day. So what were the questions, Jez? How they ended up panning out?
Yeah. If you just, so that individual who I'm not prepared to name has set the scene that you've come down. We've managed to go and watch. We watched about 45 minutes cricket, and then we've seen the Ashes being presented, and it's now, I don't know, 12:15, 12:30, and we head off into Nottingham. If you just take up what happened there.
You're better off telling me, Jess, because I was asleep for half an afternoon.
Like, I can't. I'm old. I can't remember stuff. All I'm saying is, in this message from this individual, I won't name, is that we ended up walking around Nottingham for a few hours, having a few pints, and then, as some people do, they go back for a little freshen up and a little clean of the teeth. But you jump back in bed and you're fast asleep. And then
we went out that afternoon, didn't we? And went out that afternoon. I ended up having a bit of a snooze at tea time in this bar. We were sat outside it, and I was struggling. I think that morning, we'd met in Wetherspoons before we got on cricket. We were only in there 45 minutes. We'd had at least 3 pints in that 45 minutes. We're on ground 45 minutes, and I think we'd had 3 or 4 pints. Well, on ground a little bit longer than that, but we'd had 3 or 4 pints on ground. So come dinner time, we'd had about 8 or 9 pints, or 12. I remember Burnley were playing at dinner, so I was struggling early doors because that's too much for me too early. So I had a bit of a snooze at tea time in this pub. Me and Matt Stanley were sharing a room, so we'd gone down together. So we get back, and I thought I just need 20 minutes. So I put my head down. Next thing I know, Matt Stanley's banging on the door. I'm thinking, bloody hell, I need to go out. So I just at the door, opens up. I said, right, what time are we going out? He went, what time are we going out? He said, it's 2:30. I'm like, give over. It was 2 in the morning. I've just been absolutely flat out for about 8 hours. So,
I mean, that is the same story. To be fair, Haggers, that's exactly what this individual said that happened.
Money well spent.
Yeah, it was good fun. Any other stories?
I've got to mention second team news.
Yeah, go on, please do.
Oh, I had some cracking news over here. So early doors, 2007, and one of the best things about that is that it was Paddy Martin and Cleggy that had basically paid for that trip, because I think they'd taken 80 odd wickets between them that season, load of collection. But they were too young to drink, too young to come on trips. We all went off, pissed the Blackpool with the rest of them. Before we went out, obviously we've been out during the day, but before we went out at night, Matt Stanley got stuck in toilet in his room. He couldn't get out. So he's ringing everyone. He's ringing everyone. But we were all on karaoke downstairs in hotel bar, so nobody could hear the phone. Matt Stanley was stuck in this toilet for about an hour. I don't know how we got out it end, but and that went night. I was surprised if your Adam mentioned this.
We lost him.
He's frozen.
Freeze frame.
Come on, Haggers, put 10p in.
Here he is.
You're back, Phil. You're back, Phil. Yeah, you're back.
You were on that one, weren't you, Dukes? 2007 in Blackpool. Were you not?
I think so. I did go on a few of them Blackpool trips. I don't remember years.
Well, right. Well, we're in this bar. I think we're in Walkabout, and Will Driver were there. So there's Will Driver, Scott, Adam, and I turns round, bit of a commotion. This lass is having a right go at Will Driver, and I didn't have a clue. You went, didn't you? I didn't have a clue what. I thought she was some kind of nutcase. I thought, she was being out of order. So I've had a few beers. Obviously, should have just stayed out of it, but.
Oh no!
I really want to know what happened.
Suspense is killing.
Where is it?
I hope he's not still talking.
I think I know what's going on here, dude. But I really want Haggers to tell us.
Yeah, I remember the incident. I won't spoil it, but there is another tale which you better tell about. We're in a pub during the day, all lads. You can imagine what it's like, all lads together having a few beers during the day, in this bar in Blackpool. And next thing, there's a bit of commotion over there. Haggers' mum, Bird, and sister have come in this pub that we're in Blackpool on our end of season do, and mysteriously his mum, Bird, and sister have just appeared. They've gone shopping in Blackpool and just happened to stumble into the same bar that we were in Blackpool.
That's out of order.
I've never heard that one.
He got some frightful stick for that.
I bet.
So I hope he mentions that. Here he is.
Here we go. Like having Stan back.
There's no audio.
Got to connect to the audio, Phil. Here we go. Connecting to the audio.
Yeah, he's in.
Right, I'm back.
He's in. Back in the room.
So we'll edit it together. We'll edit it back together. You were saying that there's a story about Will Driver and the girl. So you turn around. You didn't want to get involved. Carry on.
Rose again.
Look, it looks cool, doesn't it? Either cool or dead.
I know, yeah, it does.
I mean, only round corner.
Catalogue pause.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
Catalogue
Back.
pause.
Quick,
Right,
Will Driver.
Right, so this lass is kicking off with Will Driver, Scott, Adam. I've got involved when I shouldn't have done. Told her to get on her bag. She's absolutely just gone completely skits. She's come for me. So she's throwing punches left, right, and centre. I'm there trying to shield all these punches. And I thought she'll stop in a minute. She won't. Next thing, arm on shoulder, bouncer's come over. grabs hold of me, grabs hold of her. I'm getting thrown out for some reason, even though I ain't really done it. She gets thrown out. I wish they'd have left her in. Because we get outside, she's still not had enough. She still carries on. She's going like fighting amateur cards. She's going about 10 punches a second. There's two coppers there as well. Looking at these two coppers, I'm thinking, you don't have to stop her here, get her off me. They must have thought it was some kind of domestic assault, not getting involved. And, I couldn't stop her. Nobody helped me. I couldn't stop her. Anyway, eventually, these two coppers come over, like, grabbed her, drove her away. She weren't for going. Anyway, it turns out next day, so we're talking about it next day. Anyway, so next day, obviously, we're chatting about this. I said, well, what were her problem? They're all giggling away. Will, Adam, Scott. I said, what were her problem? Why was she picking up? Turns out Will Davis thrown a pint of diesel all out the back of a white dress. This is why she's gone berserk. I've turned round, come into it halfway through, told her to get on her bike. Obviously,
ended up getting 10 rounds.
Ended up getting, she looked like olive oil. She was a dead ringer for olive oil. I've got that tasty. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But yeah, that's some great tracking trips on second team does.
Yeah.
Let's have a bit of a break for a few years. There's nobody old enough to drink, but.
Ordered! Send more house to save the house! Come on, the house!
Hey, boys.
That's all right. That's your audio's okay now.
I'll turn you up a bit.
Yeah. Haggers, just do a testing 1, 2 and count to 10.
You take it piss here,
I reckon you nearly had him there, Jess. Very, very nearly.
It was just a good pause.
So we got to the end of the olive oil story. We're just going to ask you about another incident that we've had reported to us from a second team trip about meeting your mum in Blackpool when we were out.
Well, I got proper stitched up there, didn't I?
Well, I don't know. You tell us.
Oh, yeah, because that was 2008. So we were all on trip in Blackpool. And Charlotte, my missus, and my mum and my sister had decided to go shopping to Blackpool. I don't know why.
Coincidental, that, isn't it? So
basically, they ended up in that, what's it called, that right rough bar in Winter Gardens.
Tower bar.
Tower, yeah. So they ended up in there, didn't they? And, Gav were beckoning him over, weren't they? Getting chairs for him, and obviously I just got absolutely pissed.
Ever the gentleman.
Yeah. So I got stitched up.
I mean, we've got two older lads on here. What do you think that could have ever happened in your generation? You've gone on a lads trip, and one at lads' mums and girlfriends have turned up to join you for a few drinks in the afternoon.
Crashing it live, no.
Never. Never.
They
No,
weren't allowed to which country we were going to.
Exactly. I just said exactly the same. They didn't even know where we were.
Modern technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, laggers there. That's not good for them, that.
Good trip. One with second thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there were. I mean, we've had a few people on talk about him, and Paddy Martin is still waiting for his Xbox game.
Second team kitty at the moment because it didn't get spent last year. So
yeah, he's still waiting for that.
Yeah.
So if we round it up, Haggers, if we just talk really about, so you've had a great career. You're a real character from down at the cricket club. You're good company. You're down there. You help. You support all the events and everything. So how have you found the last couple of years? And it's fair to say, the twilight of cricketing career, and what you're seeing yourself doing in the next few years.
I'm just going to carry on playing as long as I enjoy it. To be honest, Jess. I come back. I've only been back now 3 seasons, even though last season weren't a proper season.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, I had 3 great years up at Padiham. I was captain in 3rd season, which, we got promoted. It was a successful season. But if I'm being honest, don't get me wrong, I always enjoy playing, and I'll never say I don't really enjoy playing, but it was too much for that. I had a count up earlier, we played 33 games that season. We played about 22 games by the end of June. It was just too much.
Yeah.
So I just knew that I wanted to come back and just, I'd gone up there. I'd proved to myself what I wanted to do. I didn't pull up any tricks, but at the same time, I didn't. It weren't a disaster or anything. Did all right. The big thing it weren't just the case of coming back. I had to step down from captaincy as well, which obviously complicated it a bit because I didn't like just doing it for one season, but I had to knock it on head. And once I'd done that, I knew that I wanted to come back, and it's been great since I come back. I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons I come back is because Joe was playing again. Joe come back out of retirement, so Joe was playing in seconds. What I didn't realise is the arrangement that Joe had, where he can only play when he can be asked. So I thought it would be great playing with Joe every week, but we don't play with each other every week. Probably play with each other once every 2 months now. But I'll be honest with you, it took a bit of settling in when I come back because once again it were a bunch of young lads. I didn't really know them. Jordan was captain, so that was an experience. So it took me a few games to settle back in. And we didn't have a great first season back. We didn't have a great season. We didn't finish in top half at league that year when everybody were in together. And then top 12 made up first division and second 12 made up second division. We finished in bottom 12. Yeah. To be honest, we're a decent side, but we maybe could have scraped into the top 12. But probably being in that that bottom division and just having something to compete for to get out of there, was a good thing for that second season. Yeah. Obviously, your Matt come back to captain second season. Got promoted second season, finishing second. You look at the team we have. I know it's shoulda, woulda, coulda, but once again we should have won that really. But for some reason, Haslingden have become a bogey thing. Never mind, can't beat them. Every time we play them now, we're just absolutely awful. We get hammered every time we play them. Yeah. And they won't leave that. They won that second division that season. Yeah. But you look at the team we had that season. Like I made a note earlier. For half the season, we had Dom Stewart and Joe Olstead opening bowling, and then majority of the time we weren't even chasing triple figures. We were rolling teams out for 80 odd, 90 odd every week. And so the main thing we're getting back up into that top division, which we did. But then obviously we haven't played any proper cricket in that top division yet because of what's been going on for the last 12 months. And it was good that we managed to get some games in last year. I know some people were keen, some people weren't. I was always keen to play because I wanted some kind of normality. So I think we've got 5 or 6 games in. Got a couple of games in it. I played a couple of times at first team at end of the season, albeit they were only friendlies. So managed to get 50 odd against Colin as well. So it was only first team friendly, and technically, and Colin weren't a full strength Colin team by no means, but technically I've got a first team 50 now, so I'll have that.
Yeah.
Give it 15 years, we're a full strength Colin team, we're pro.
Yeah.
But I'll have that, bear in mind, an absolute disaster, 15 years ago, so.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's good, and it's good to see that you're back and you're keen, and the young lads, no matter what you say, you don't know who they are or you don't know them yet. They will feed off you. They will feed off senior players and experienced players, and it does massively help the club.
Joe will back me up on this, but that dressing room we've got there at the moment, it's brilliant crack. One of the best dressing rooms we've been involved in. Dex down there, Simmy, Don Stewart when he's come down from first team. You've got Ethan in there, Charlie Biffle, Now George Durkin and Henry are coming through now, so they're starting to just come out of the shells a bit. There's some great lads. It's great crack. Yeah. The Dukes, like I said, when it can be half playing. So, but one thing, honestly, Jez, you'll shake your head at this. One thing I've never seen before, which I saw for the first time last year, and this is probably a sign at where games going and society in general, is lads washing their hair before they go out to field halfway through the game. Full on shampoo job.
What?
Yeah, and you'll laugh when I tell you it is, because if he takes after his dad, he'll have no left in about 10 years. Dex Stanner.
What are they washing the hair for?
Full on shampoo job, washing his hair before he goes out. I don't know.
He also has some moisturiser cream for his feet.
What?
That he openly puts on in changing room in front of 10 other lads. What are you doing that for, Declan? Well, I get dry skin on my feet. So what?
We might need to get him on. No, that's brilliant, Haggers. And like I said, everything bodes well. Let's hope that we'll get through this next few months, and then April, May, or June, we're back to some sort of normality and playing cricket again. That's fantastic, Haggers. Joe Martin, I'm sure there's little bits. Is there anything you want to just clarify or bring up with Haggers?
Do you know, not really. Haggers has covered the large proportion of everything there. But when I played in the second team with Haggers and Stanley and Gav as manager, and I've already talked about how much of effect Gav had on my cricket, Haggers and everyone were brilliant with me. As a strange character, they were always more than happy to almost pander to my idiosyncrasies, to say the least, which was always extremely, I was always grateful, as were my parents.
George, it's a good job you don't wash your hair before you go out to field, isn't it?
Well,
you'd have to do the game by like 4 hours.
Brilliant. No, thanks for that, Joe. You always like to get a little bit of an emotional bit in the end. And...
Absolutely. I'm Shez's nephew. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and as long as they all kept stroking you. Duke, anything you want to clarify with Haggers or bring up?
Yeah, just a couple of really quick bits. Gav just chucked a few things. Another trip to a test match where it didn't go particularly well for you, Old Trafford. Another day where you ended up worse for wear, and you got lost on your way back to the train station. You don't have a right to reply to this. I'm just throwing it at you.
I got on the wrong train.
You got on the wrong train?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was leathered.
Gav gave us a few bits to wind you up at, but he caveated it all by saying he's watched a lot of you play, a lot of your innings at second team, and genuinely some of the best second team innings he's ever seen, particularly at a couple at Ramsbottom that he singled out. So that's how he wanted to finish it. He also said it's amazing you scored so many runs, bearing in mind you used to go on 2 holidays every single season.
Well, it's
can't really take commitment jabs from a guy who packed in at 26 years old, though, can you? Let's be honest.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I'm 37 and still playing. So, I don't know when I'm meant to go on holiday if I can't go on holiday. So I'm going to go on holiday in November, am I? So, I don't know.
Haggers, sorry, Jez, something has just reminded me there when Dukes talked about Rami. Can you remember the game in 2009 where we were playing against Rami and the changing rooms here were locked?
Oh.
The change rooms were locked. Stan his key had broken or something, and nobody could get in. And all Haggers' kit were in changing rooms.
Well, we not just mine. So we turned up at Rami and basically batting order were anybody who had the kit. So I'm sure at scorecards on Lancashire League website, if you look at batting order, and that's what it looks like. That we've turned up. We've started with people who had the kit. I think we made a decent fist of it in the end.
Yeah, we did.
That was, like I said earlier, that was second season when my eyes had started going. I'd had a nightmare of a season, and I think I got 150 off the back of my bat. We're really struggling. And I got about, me and Matt Doherty put about 100 on that.
Yeah.
I got like 40 odd not out. Yeah.
So,
right. We went in, I think we were about 20 for 4, and who opened batting?
So
Mickey Lee opened.
It was the batting order was me and Paddy Howley, who, you know, I'd done okay in the 3 games beforehand, but Paul Stanley had been batting 3. Paul Stanley said, well, if we send Joe in, you know, we'll be steady, and then when they get back, we'll be all right. I was out 3rd ball. Paddy Howley was out for 1. Mickey Lee went in at 3. Mickey Lee had a pair of batting pads that were made out of foam, and anytime the ball hit them, it had a massive indentation of where he'd been hit. But he batted at 3. Matt Walker batted at 4, and then Haggers and Matt Doughty put 100 on, 110 on. And we got battered.
Straight 6 at Rammy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I still I don't know how I did that, because it's a big hit straight.
It is a very big hit. I've never hit a boundary at Rammy.
I'm not known for the 6 hitting. So,
I mean, they battered us, but the other thing I can remember was from that game was Paul Stanley really enjoyed the camaraderie from the team because of the adversity we'd face. Firstly, with people not having the bags, but he also found it really funny when Mickey Lee booted Matt Walker in his shin. And it's brilliant. You know, you're kicking each other. It's fantastic.
You enjoy it that much, you retired.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Oh, good story. So Stan's at fault again for locking all your kit away.
Yeah.
Always manages to creep in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. So, Gary, have you anything to finish off with before we say good night to Haggers?
I don't think so, Jez. No, we didn't. I don't think our paths crossed a great deal, did the Haggers there? I think I spent more time with your old fella than you, probably. So,
you're right.
But always good watching you coming through.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, Haggers. Say again.
One thing I will say is, obviously, from a first team point of view, everything went, massively wrong, and that if you have a look at my average, it speaks for itself, and I could have got more of an opportunity, but that's by the by. Obviously, after a while, I realised that that was never going to really happen in first team, but I started to enjoy, the young lads coming through, and I thought, if I can have a word here and there, and it sticks with them, and it helps them, if it helps them, move on in their career, and it helps them further on in their career, then that's good enough for me. And I know it sounds corny, but I have genuinely enjoyed seeing Joe go through seconds into the first team, Matt Walker, Fergus Bailey, Depp Bailey, Johnny Whitehead, Paddy. Genuinely enjoyed seeing them come through second team. Oakie as well. Oakie were one at first to go through second team and into the first team. Genuinely enjoyed them, especially when they go to win first team leagues and Worsley Cups and that. And I've taken a lot of enjoyment from that. So
and I genuinely mean it, that they take a lot from playing with yourselves. There's been quite a few players like you that have maybe not made a full career in the first team, but you've definitely contributed to getting these players through. So all credit to you, Haggers. So thanks so much. There's some stories there. I'm going to have a re-listen to that James Anderson one, because that was funny. There was about 4 stories within one story that I'll continue to listen to and laugh my socks off. That was absolutely brilliant. So, Haggers, thanks very much for giving us your thoughts and your memories around Lowerhouse Cricket Club. Stay safe, pal, and we'll look forward to having a pint, hopefully in the springtime, and see you then. All right, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks a lot, chaps. Cheers.
Gordon, send more house to save the house.